What is going on, amazing people of the interwebs? Before we get into today's show, I'd just like to tell you I'm crazy about intermittent fasting, not only for weight loss, but for mental benefits. That's why I've created an ebook and I want to share that with you. So you can check that out in the link in my description. So without further ado, let's jump into today's episode. Welcome guys to another episode of the Kristian Buddy Show. Glad to be here, and I am joined with Connie. How are you feeling today, Connie?
I'm doing great. How about you, Kristian?
I'm doing awesome. Just thankful to be alive and doing this podcast with you. So let's jump straight into it. And I want to just kind of pierce your personal story. So you are a nutritionist and a personal trainer.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell the people at home listening who the real Connie is?
Well, yeah, sure, I can. The real Connie is basically just an enthusiast of moving your body. I've been down a lot of different spaces, especially in the last 5 years. I've competed in multiple bodybuilding shows. I've recently gotten into endurance cycling. Basically, I have a pretty popular podcast called the Fit Farming Food Bomb.
Shout out to Food Bomb.
Yeah, just trying to get information out there, good information that people can use to try to start their own health and fitness journey. I know had someone have not put information out there, I would not be where I am at today. I wouldn't have learned my passion for how much nutrition affected every process in our body. And so it was just a blessing that I found somebody else that helped me find my passion. And now I'm forwarding that to other people.
Amen to that. That is absolutely amazing. And I want to kind of stop you at that bodybuilding phase in your life because I'm curious about that. I've checked out your social medias, and guys, if you haven't got your ego sorted, you're going to be sorely disappointed because you're like, I got to compliment your body. You're absolutely shredded. And can you take me down a journey? I want to hear your journey into the bodybuilding scene.
Well, it's kind of a funny one. So I basically got into nutrition pretty hardcore to help change one of my family members' health, and it ended up actually impacting every person in our family. So including myself, I went from weighing 187 pounds down to weighing 114 pounds in less than 6 months.
Wow.
And I didn't realize at the time. I now know I actually had Hashimoto's, which is an autoimmune thyroid condition. And that was actually what was making me gain the weight, even though I was a pretty active person. I've been racing motocross my whole life, been a super outdoors person, always up, always going. There was no reason I should have been gaining weight. And I know that I had tried every diet in the books, every crash diet, and you name it. I mean, even like the Slim Fast and Special K diets and eat 1,000 calories a day. I tried it all. None of it worked. And all I did was get fatter and fatter. I felt absolutely horrible. I wasn't really in love with my body, and the fatigue and the joint pain, and my hair was falling out and all this crazy things. The doctors tested me for lupus. I struggled to get pregnant with my second child. Like, there was a lot going on, and I thought we ate pretty healthy. It was pretty crazy because I cooked everything at home from scratch. Scratch being like spaghetti noodles and sauce, and and add a roll that you got out of a Bisquick thing. But I thought that was what was healthy, and if you added a vegetable, it was healthy. I thought that was okay for my family, and I thought that because we weren't eating fast food, that I was giving them the right things to help them grow and be nourished. And when I changed my diet, that's when I found out I was sorely mistaken.
Damn. Can I? But I'm just curious about the bodybuilding phase in your life. Was there like any push and shove at backstage, or what's it like being on stage?
It's my favorite thing in the world. I am absolutely obsessed with bodybuilding. I have been ever since I was a small child with Arnold Schwarzenegger. I mean, it goes way back. I had friends when I was in high school that were old in their 20s and they competed, and I just always was like, man, I want to be that fit chick. I want to be that, you know? And finally, when I lost all that weight and I felt great and I started lifting and I started seeing all these results, I started getting jacked. I mean, my husband, he was tired of me being like, hey, feel this muscle. It's like huge. Or, hey, look at this. And like texting him pictures and stuff. And finally, one day we're laying in bed and I had looked into competing and I was so, I don't know what it was. I was ashamed to be like, hey, honey, I'm going to step on the bodybuilding stage. And of course, my husband's amazing and he's supportive of everything. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. And I did. I worked hard. I trained hard. I stepped on stage for the first time. And I remember the flood of emotions because it was like something I had wanted my whole life and I had done it. And it was the hardest thing I've ever done. Like, I'm not kidding. You have to go to a dark place in order to get shredded like that. You feel horrible. Your body feels heavy. Your hormones are wrecked. Your emotions are all over the place. You do hours of cardio, eat hardly anything. It is a hard ass thing to do. And I did it and I was proud. And then it was like, well, snap, I'm hit by the bodybuilding bug here.
Damn. All right. I love it. Let's
continue to train. Yeah.
I want to pause you right there. I want to pause that amazing story for now, and I want to pick out that dark spot. So what goes through your mind in that dark spot of training? Because I'm curious to hear all about that.
Oh, it's this thing. I've tried to write about it in my journals and stuff so many times, and I just can't capture it on paper. But you're literally having to push so hard that you have to learn to mentally check out of that. It is a complete mental and physical fight against your body and what it wants to do. And when you're depleted and you're low on body fat, and it's so hard to even, I mean, I remember trying to walk up the stairs to even get on the Stairmaster because the cardio equipment was on the second level of my gym and not hardly being able to walk up the stairs, yet I had to get on the Stairmaster and spend an hour on there twice a day. And I remember the way I handled it was I would literally close my eyes and envision myself standing on stage every day, and my smile and my posing and winning the overall trophies and just going out there and killing it. I relived it every single day. And you have to almost black out and embrace this dark demon that is happening, shove it aside, and just get things done in order to achieve your goal.
For sure. Absolutely. And yeah, if you look at all the greats in history, they've all got, they all know the dark spot, you know, and I don't know, like society kind of, I get the feeling that maybe society kind of shies away from that, but I feel like the real people of this world that really want to accomplish greatness with their life needs to embrace the dark. And yeah, it's such a powerful thing. And so, okay, so you're in that bodybuilding phase, and then it's interesting because now you've transitioned to an endurance phase of your life. How has that changed you, or what impact has that made on you?
Amazing. I can't even tell you how thankful I am that I fell into the endurance scene. It was kind of actually an accident. I had reconstructive hip surgery a year ago, and when that happened, I literally couldn't lift weights at all. Like, they were like, "No, you're not lifting weights." And all of a sudden all these things went through my mind. It was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm going to shrink. This is going to happen. That's going to happen. I got to get active. I'm going to gain weight." Like, all of this flood of emotions happened, and they said, "Well, you bicycle." Well, I had a road bike and I used to ride it back and forth to work to get extra cardio in and fit cardio here and there. And so I started riding my bike, and pretty soon I could ride my bike like 50 or 60 or 70 miles, and it didn't bother me at all.
Yeah.
And so then my competitive spirit got involved, and it was like, well, crap, I can race this thing. I want to do it. So let's see how hard I can push. Let's see how far I can go. So next thing you know, I'm signing up for a 120-mile race with 7,000 feet of elevation gain. And I'm like, let's do this.
Yeah, all the power to you. That's fantastic. And okay, so what's been the biggest difference switching from that that in the gym trying to build muscle, and now you're out on the road riding your bike? Have you found any big differences, or um,
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, I still pump iron. I still try to gain muscle. I'm still a bodybuilder in every way. I just have learned to balance it with endurance sports. It's not the direction I'm going. I'm not done stepping on stage. I have plans someday for the future to do it again, maybe if my health allows. But there's the same kind of place where you can get in that dark spot where things just suck and you have to mentally learn how to grind through that I love
yeah,
about cycling. The other thing is I stopped obsessing about how my body looked. I wasn't looking in the mirror every day being like, oh, I need to grow my lats, or I need to grow my shoulders, or I need to change my glutes, and I need to only eat this much, and I need to obsess about every little thing. The biggest shift happened when I started fueling myself, meaning eating, to perform at top levels. Because let's face it, when you're bodybuilding, you're not performing at a top level necessarily. You're working towards an amount of leanness. There's no performance necessarily involved. You don't need to go out and output this extreme amount of energy. The goal behind bodybuilding is getting energy out, like burning it up as calories and getting lean. Well, when it comes to cycling, it's a different story. You have to have the power. You have to be able to fuel for performance. And so I totally changed my outlook on food, because when I stopped counting calories and worrying and obsessing about my body, everything changed. And my performance was at its best. My lab work looked the best. And I was able to go out and grind out hundreds of miles on my bicycle. And it was just a really amazing thing.
wow. With bodybuilding, do you think there's some component of it that's all egotistical? I guess, what am I trying to say? I guess there's a lot of vanity in bodybuilding. There's a lot of checking yourself out in the mirror. And I guess in comparison to that, any endurance sports such as long distance running or cycling, there's an element of mental. I guess what I'm trying to say is I feel like endurance sports is a lot, for me anyway, it's a lot more noble and it's a lot more difficult. Now, I know it's a bit of a, I don't know. I guess I don't know really I don't really know what I'm trying to say here, but yeah, I feel like bodybuilding is a very vain sport. It's not functional. It's not like a soccer. If you go and play soccer or tennis, you're moving in different directions. But with bodybuilding, you're just doing that just so you could look good in the mirror. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but it's not like a functional thing. It's not like if you're big, like you look good, cool, but can you run? Can you run well? Can you move well? Can you dance well? Can you sing? Can you talk? Can you do a backflip? Can you do all these cool things? Because the body is capable of all these amazing things, and I think you got it. You got your finger in each pie. I think you're kind of experimenting with different things, which is cool, and I love to see that because much like myself, I'm trying to experiment in different things. So.
Yeah, absolutely. My biggest thing is I want to be a high performer in all aspects of my life. I want to be a multifaceted athlete, and I want to move my body for longevity. So I think just sitting around on the couch eating, potato chips isn't going to get you longevity. It's not going to help you with your mindset. It's not, but there's a balance there, right? And that, like, the balance is like some people like me that like to go out and just push themselves really hard. You also have to figure out that you can push too hard and you can also affect your longevity that way. So there is a happy place there. As far as the bodybuilding industry being a vanity sport, I'm not necessarily sure of that. Obviously, there's a lot of critiquing that has to go on in the mirror, and it is a very hard sport in its own ways. I mean, it's the most extreme of the most extreme. But the thing is like you see so many people. For me, it actually helped me realize what I'm actually capable of doing and what is an actually real look for me. Because for me, when I got into it, I thought I could look like Pam Anderson all the time. I thought that that was okay. And I thought I could look like those people I saw on the covers of magazines all the time.
I
And
think
then
you
when
do.
yeah, that well, thanks. I feel pretty dang good about myself. But the thing is that's not real. And you know, unless you're some genetic freak, which there are some out there and they're really super blessed, most people can't look like that all the time. And those people that are doing these magazine shoots and they're doing all this stuff, they're doing it they're cutting for it just like a bodybuilder would. And so when I realized what my real body is and that I can't look like I look on stage every single day of my life, I would be half dead. I would be walking around. My quality of life would really suck. I realized a lot of things about myself. Now, the same can be said, though, for people developing eating disorders and body dysmorphia, because when people get that lean, they have a hard time coming out of it. And they can't bridge that gap between sustainability and the lean stage look. And so it causes a major mental breakdown for a lot of people, because they even gain an ounce of body fat post show and they're freaking out. They're losing it and all these things develop. And you know, for me, I almost went down that hole because I wanted to be shredded all the time. People saw me shredded on stage. They saw me on social media. I thought, man, if I'm going to be a successful person in this world, I got to look shredded all the time. And it was killing me being that way, because that's not sustainable. So I think there's a lot to be said as far as the vanity part, but I know so many people that do it just because they love the reward they get, the high they get from changing their body and being capable of doing something like you're in full control of that ride and you can do whatever you want. It's like upgrading a race car, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I can understand that point of continual improvement, gradual improvement. But I mean, who cares what you look like? I mean, unless you're in that competitive space, I get it. You want to look your absolute best, but I mean, who are you as a person? What difference are you making to society? Are you donating to society? Are you spending your time? Are you giving your heart? These are the things that truly matter. These are the things that, at the end of the day, when we turn over and we die, these are the things that really make the difference in others' lives. So, yeah, I can appreciate the competitive landscape, and I get it. There's a point in time, but I think, we want to ethics and morals is where it's at. That's the home base.
Right, absolutely. And then like honestly, what you're telling yourself, like when you start obsessing in the mirror about these kind of things, like when you really have to really be strict about like, oh, I have some body fat here or there. Also, are you a parent? Are you an aunt or uncle? Are you mentoring someone? Is that someone watching you constantly obsess over your body? I know for me, I had to be very careful about that. I don't want my daughter to think that the scale needs to rule her life. I don't want her to think that you have to be shredded all the time. And I know there was a big, huge revelation for me when I came out of my last set of bodybuilding shows, which was 2 years ago. And I started to have not paper thin skin and a 6-pack of abs anymore. And she like pinched the skin on my stomach and she was like, Mom, she's like, you're getting fat on your stomach. And coming from a 5-year-old, you're like, what? Hold on. Wait a minute. It's like, I'm in like pretty peak physical condition here. I said, actually, no, honey, that's normal. And you have to normalize that because we all have these places. We all store things differently, and there is a healthy amount of body fat to have too. And you have to realize that like I could have been creating a complete monster there. Somebody that had exercise addiction or some kind of, because she thought she needed to look like her mom all the time. So there's some scary things that can manifest with that. And it's a place where you have to tread lightly.
Yeah, absolutely. And I thought I'd just slow down the conversation because I'm going to give you there's a new segment that we have on the show. Hopefully this works. So bear with me for a moment.
No problem.
Okay, so this is the new segment.
Rapid fire questions.
Rapid fire questions.
Oh, joy.
All right. I'm going to ask you a series of questions. You can take as long as you want to answer them, or you can just spit them out.
Okay.
So here we go. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
How do you have your coffee?
Black with liquid stevia.
Whoa. 10-pin bowling or darts?
Oh, bowling. Definitely.
Cool. What would be your final meal?
Oh, crud. This is a hard one. I don't even know. Probably some kind of something, because I wouldn't get gluten afterwards. I would probably eat some regular pizza.
Oh, come on. You got a pizza, brownies, ice cream, waffles. You're having pizza.
Yep. Chicken
Speaking
and
of
waffles.
Waffles, yeah, for sure. Speaking of pizza, pineapple on pizza, yay or nay?
Heck yeah. Uh-huh.
Respect to that. Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Woof woof. And the final riddle. This is going to be a riddle, so you can take as long as you want to think about this. So, what has to be broken before you can use it?
I don't know. In my case, it was my brain.
All right. The answer is an egg.
Oh, there you go.
There you go. So
my favorite protein source.
All right. Well, speaking of protein sources, I want to segue into food. You kind of threw out a few terms such as gluten-free and protein and things like that. And I think you're drinking a protein shake now. Is that a protein shake now?
No, it's just water.
No, it's just water. Okay, maybe a little bit of pre-workout in there, or there's no pre-workout in there.
Nope, straight up water.
Straight up. Okay. So I guess I want to turn to you for advice. So if there's some people at home that are a little bit overweight and struggling with their diet, what's some things that they can eat, or what advice would you give to those people?
I would definitely tell them to prioritize protein, and that looks like actual meat. So tuna fish, steak, chicken in any form, I don't care. Fish, eggs, those are all fantastic sources of protein. And by prioritizing that, you're doing so many things. First of all, you're going to get satiety out of that, so you're not going to be as hungry all the time. You have a better thermic effect of food, which is also going to make sure that food is actually burning more calories. It burns more calories in order to digest that food. It takes longer to digest. It also balances out your blood sugar. So if you're eating things alongside of it, like some carbohydrates, it's going to slow down the hit of that carbohydrate. So super important. Another thing is, if you're looking to lose weight, you're going to most people are used to snacking. They're snackers. And I find that if I feel like I'm in a snacky mood, if I'm not hungry enough to eat some protein, whether it be a hard-boiled egg or some chicken, cold chicken actually tastes pretty good, like it does in sandwiches. Yummy. And stuff. Yeah. If you're not, or eggs or anything like that, if you're not hungry enough to be eating protein, then you're probably not actually hungry. And so a thing that I do with a lot of my clients is I have them start prioritizing protein. We don't necessarily count calories and things like that, but we make sure that we make how much protein we're getting in a priority, and also replace snacking by eating some form of protein source.
Now, gluten products and things in carbohydrate products, these are like naughty little things that we shouldn't be eating. But how do you balance that equation? What do you tell the people that you're training about carbohydrates and things like that? I'm curious to hear.
Well, I don't necessarily say there's naughty things that we shouldn't be eating. I don't think there's anything that there are things we should probably stay away from and probably aren't going to help us get closer to our health goals. For me, I think that everybody should remove gluten, and I know that that seems like a crazy thing, but it's actually an undigestible protein source. It
Yeah.
also wreaks havoc on our digestion, and it is super inflammatory. So, so many of us are already struggling with inflammation from outside sources, even stress. And so adding gluten, which is a highly reactive thing for many people and they don't even know it, is an extremely important step in health. And so if anybody can eliminate one thing from their diet, I think pulling gluten out is a great one to start with. As far as carbohydrates go, they have their place. They have their processes. They do make energy. I think the quality of the carbohydrate matters, though. So,
Mm,
a donut and a banana are two far different things. They may be the same amount of carbohydrates, but how is your body going to take them in? How are they going to be processed? And so I think hyperpalatability is another thing that we need to talk about. When we start getting into these processed carbohydrates, we're actually hitting all of the signals in our brain that are like doing drugs, and we become addicted to them. And these hyperpalatable foods are super saturated with horrible fats and oils and tons of carbohydrates, and they are easy to eat, so they hit all those signals, and pretty soon that's all you want to eat, and you're not prioritizing protein anymore. So I think it's really important that people be very mindful of the kind of carbohydrates that they're eating
yeah.
when they do eat them. Also, making sure that you're pairing them with a protein and a fat, because that's the other thing. A lot of people are like, I need a snack, I'm going to eat a couple of these crackers. Well, this just being an example, even an apple, you eat these things and you have nothing slowing down that. I mean, when you eat an apple, you got some fiber and stuff, but you don't have a lot slowing down that insulin spike that you're going to get that from that blood sugar spike. And so you need to be able to pair this with a protein and a fat so that you're slowing down the release of those carbohydrates into the bloodstream. It's super important. Because a lot of society now is chronically struggling with elevated blood sugar, and their insulin levels are chronically coming up in order to take care of that, because as they're bombarding their system with this chronic carbohydrate overdose, all of their cells are becoming desensitized to their friend insulin, which helps usher those carbohydrates and stuff into them for energy. And so when this happens, we develop diabetes and insulin resistance and a lot of hardcore illnesses that are related to that. And so people need to be very mindful of where their blood sugars are at. It's an important part of the health scene.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. And I'm going to shout out to intermittent fasting because that's something that I am currently doing. And I'm going to do another shout out. I've got an ebook in my description. So if you guys are interested in learning more about fasting, you can check that out. But I'm curious to get your opinion on intermittent fasting.
I think it can be a great tool for people. It really can. But we have to keep in mind also what kind of stress levels those people are encountering as well. I think that when you have people that are chronically stressed and in this sympathetic nervous system state, when you add fasting to it, then it can actually add to that already stressed out system state. So I think that just making sure that we're aware of what kind of situations we're in and what kind of stress levels we're dealing with is a really important part of that. Other than that, I think it can be implemented and seeing some amazing results. I know for myself personally, anecdotally, I perform better than ever when I am fasted. So I feel like my cycling workouts are incredible when I'm fasted. I do the best when I'm fasted, and I set better times. Almost any PRs I set are almost always when I'm fasted. So, I mean, there are balances to it. It just depends on what your situation is, and it's heavily individual on the person. So I can't really give you an answer on that as far as is it
that's
perfect
cool.
or is it not. I think it's a very individualized thing.
I'd just like to recount from my own personal experience, and I play a bit of tennis, and I generally play in the morning, and I always play fasted. Now, I don't play a competition match fasted, but yeah, I think there's something to training the body or getting the body adjusted to playing fasted. Maybe something like metabolic flexibility, or that I know there's some science behind it. Look, I'm not an expert, so I can't comment on that. But maybe it's a placebo, maybe it's a real thing. I'm not sure, but yeah, I think there's a sharpness of the mind, and there's a clarity that comes to training fasted that I love. I love it. And I guess people, well, I don't want to speak for everybody, but there's a general notion that we need to always be eating. We need to always be fueling the body, which is not true. It's just it's just not true. Um,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And again, it's heavily dependent on people's situations and stuff like that.
yeah,
But I think from the moment where I think everybody at some point should try to implement it into their life if it's got the right timing. Definitely, because the thing is there's so many people that from the minute we're like a small baby, we're being fed hyper palatable, high glycemic foods. We're talking pureed fruits and rice cereals, and
yeah,
we're never actually, our body never has to cross that line where it's burning fat for fuel. It's kind of it never gets put to that place, right? And I think that there can definitely be some benefits there. Like I said, I think is a time and a place for it too. And you have to be the right person. Like there's always this correct situation for people, and we're all so unique and individual. I can't be like, hey, Kristian, that's for you. You should take this diet and eat these calories and it'll be your magic number. I can't really say that. It's so highly individual. But I do think there is definitely something to metabolic flexibility. And I know when I have implemented it into my own training and my own life, it was a major game changer for me, because I have actually worn a continuous glucose monitor, and I was able to see in real time what was actually happening to my body. And after I taught my body to be metabolically flexible, it was amazing where I was getting my energy from. And so all of the sudden I would have ketones and blood sugar going at the same time, and it wouldn't knock me out of ketosis because my body was using both things for fuel at the same time.
yeah, 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 absolutely. And transitioning into a different conversation, personal training. So you are a personal trainer, and how have you been able to grow your business? I'm
Go ahead.
so I'm just curious just out of curiosity, how have you been able to grow your business?
Honestly, most of it's been word of mouth. I mean, I get one person training with me, and then the next person, they tell their friends, and the next thing their friends tell somebody, and now it's gotten where even on social media, if somebody asks, "Hey, I'm looking for a personal trainer," so many people are getting to know my name now. That I'm getting tagged in things constantly, and so I think, but the part of that is most important is your integrity. I
Mm,
think that that's how you get this great reputation that's going to take you far. And even if it's uncomfortable for you, maintaining your integrity is what's going to help bring you clients. It's going to help you grow your business and your brand.
yeah, absolutely. Because I've noticed that you've got a lot of moving parts in your life. You've got your social media channels, you've got your groups, you've got your YouTube, you've got your blog, and you've got all these moving parts. How do you keep it all together?
That's a funny thing. I don't know if I would say it's all together. I do my best to have I'm just trying to get information out there for people, because like I said, I never know when it's going to click and they're going to be like, wow, this is what I need. And so I'm going to do my best. There are a lot of moving parts. Some days are sheer chaos. But I do my best to try to keep it all together and provide value for people.
Yeah. Do you meditate?
No, I don't. I've tried. I'm trying to get better about doing breath work and things like that. I just recently had Robbie Bent on my podcast, and we talked all about
Okay.
breath work, and I've really worked on a lot of that kind of stuff. But for me, and I know this might sound crazy, for me, when I'm working out or I'm cycling, that is kind of a form of meditation. I feel like I'm able to check out of my day-to-day life. And so I think that I feel like I do, but I can't say that it's in the traditional standard of what people think meditation actually is.
Do you give much thought to life and what we are as humans? Do you ever ponder?
Oh yeah. I dig pretty deep on lots of things, and
Okay.
and it's really interesting, like this is a hard subject to get into, really, because I find myself scrutinizing pretty much everything and why we do things, and if this was this and why is that, and things like that. But yeah, it's really interesting, I guess. The things that go through your head when you start doing cardio and lifting and getting in touch with yourself.
Oh, jeez. All right. Well, what do you usually? I'm curious to hear about your diet. Like, I'm just what are you eating at the moment? What's the nutrition like?
So things are a little bit complicated right now. So I actually struggle with digestive issues. Anybody that follows my Instagram or Facebook knows that that's where I really hit home, and that's because a lot of autoimmune disease is happens because of digestive
So
distress.
can I
And
just
then
stop you there? So what is autoimmune disease?
so autoimmune disease is where your body actually attacks itself. In my
Okay.
case, it attacks my thyroid. So it thinks that my thyroid is a sickness from the outside and it needs to kill it. And a lot of that stuff actually manifests in the gut, believe it or not. And so anyway, for me, I actually lost my gallbladder a while back, about 8 years ago now. And I also have the autoimmune condition going on. And then on top of lots of stress, like training stress in particular, where back when I was bodybuilding, I pushed my body to the limit. And I really ruined my digestion, and it actually made my autoimmune disease much, much worse. And with that being said, I have to continuously keep a good eye on my digestion. And I have reoccurring issues with SIBO. And because of
What's
that right
SIBO? Sorry.
now, so it's small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. Um,
Wow. And,
and
and how did you find out that you've got these things? Just through a doctor, or I
Yeah,
mean,
just through a naturopath and testing. Like, you can do lots of testing. This second time around, I didn't test for it. I know what to look for. I know that I've got some gut dysfunction going on, and pretty much regardless of whether I have it or not, taking over the kind of diet that I'm doing is going to help with it either way. So right now I'm doing more of a low FODMAP type of diet. So basically it's fermentable foods. You remove them from your diet because they feed that bacteria. And so I'm being a little careful right now. I'm on a little bit of a try to restore my digestion a little, because I could tell that it was starting to go downhill a bit, and I didn't want to have it affect me. So taking some precautions and following a really clean, low FODMAP diet.
what are some examples of FODMAP food?
So the list is pretty crazy. Like rices, oatmeal, stuff like that. Those are pretty fermentable. The list is like it's a harder diet to follow because things are so many things. So onions are really bad. Garlic is really bad. There's many carbohydrates a lot of them are super fermentable. Apples, things like that can be hard. But then again, some other super sugary fruits like pineapple and stuff aren't. They don't ferment. Yeah, it's kind of a super complicated diet, but I think when I put it into place, I definitely see some big results. Within about a week, I started not having any bloating or digestive oxidative distress. And I was like, oh, this was the right answer. So, and then I don't eat a very high carbohydrate diet either. So, I do have some fruit in the morning. I have half a banana and some blueberries, and really that's pretty much the most of the carbohydrates that I have right now during the day. I just feel like I perform the best at a lower carbohydrate diet. So I would rather have
when you mean, sorry to cut you off there. So when you mean perform the best, do you mean mentally, physically? Yeah.
Yep. I'm the sharpest. I'm not tired. I don't suffer from that mid-afternoon crash where you're tired all the time. I just feel like I'm not weighed down. I don't have sugar cravings, things like that. So I just do better with a low carbohydrate diet. And it's not to say that I avoid them entirely. I eat plenty of carbs, but for the most part, I just keep it pretty lean in the carbohydrate area.
So it's called FODMAP. Is that, am I saying it right? Yeah. Okay. So it would be different to keto, I'm guessing, because you're still having it would be,
You can still have carbohydrates. Like there's no elimination of carbohydrates. Yeah. It's basically just removing foods that ferment easily in your gut.
Okay. I'm guessing that, okay, so that's the trigger for the disease. Okay, so okay, so for people that do have autoimmune disease, you would recommend that diet. I mean, this is not a science podcast, so don't take this as literal advice, but I'm just taking it off your personal experience. You're feeling better. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think it may not be the right diet for people with autoimmune disease, but this is what I know. If you have your digestion optimized, then your autoimmune disease is more than likely going to go into remission.
Okay.
So optimizing digestion, and for some people that might mean incorporating some kind of digestive acids to help them actually break down their food. A lot of people are lacking in that area, or reducing stress in their life so their stomach can actually have the opportunity to make the acids that it needs. Because that's the other thing, when you're not digesting your food, you're pushing these undigested particles down into your lower intestines, which have these little guys called villi. And when those guys get damaged, you can struggle from other things that are ramifications of leaky gut and things like that. So protecting your digestion is extremely important. Your gut is your second brain, and it's linked to so many other processes in the body.
What other processes?
Everything is like, even your serotonin and stuff is made in the gut. So a lot of people that struggle with mental illness, depression, anxiety, a lot of that stuff manifests in the gut. Many autoimmune diseases like rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, even MS, are all autoimmune conditions where the body for some reason starts to attack itself. And oftentimes that has actually been linked to digestive illness or dysfunction.
Okay. What does your workout schedule look like these days?
Oh boy, it's all over the place. Honestly, I work out 3 to 4 days a week, strength training, and it's usually 35 to 45 minutes. And then the other days I spend on my bicycle. Sometimes I spend those days when I strength train as well on my bicycle. I take 2 days off solid from cycling and 1 solid rest day a week where I don't do anything.
Okay. And what's your opinion on rest? I mean, there's this notion that we need to keep pushing the body as hard as possible, but what's your opinion on rest?
Yeah, it's extremely important. You need to recover as hard as you train. And that's a mistake a lot of people get into. They get into that mindset of you can rest when you die and all of these things. But what they don't realize is your ability to grow or change or evolve in some way is only as good as your ability to recover. And so if you're never letting that area recover, then it's not ever progressing beyond where it's at. I mean, unless you're a genetic freak, and that's where a whole bunch of other things come into play. But, people get into performance enhancing drugs and things like that because they want to override physiology and heal these things faster and do all this stuff. So, honestly, you need to rest and recover as hard as you train. And I can't tell you how important that is.
Can I ask you a personal question? And feel free if you're not comfortable answering it. It revolves around drugs. Are
Mhm.
we able to go down that topic, or would you like to skip that
Sure.
topic?
No, have at
Okay.
it.
Have you ever taken performance-enhancing drugs?
Yes. Yep. Uh, and I can say that as a natural athlete, I think that I looked way better, performed way better, felt way better than I ever did when I was bringing other compounds into my life. Now, that being said, I think there are some things out there that are considered performance enhancing that are not bad. I mean, there's a lot of things out in the health world like peptides and hormone replacement therapy. A lot of people give that hormone replacement realm a bad rap. And I, for one, fully utilize hormone replacement therapy. It's prescribed through my doctor, and it's something that has helped me immensely as far as longevity and recovery and stuff like that goes. There's also peptides and stuff out there that can be super great for your longevity and your health. So, there's kind of a fine line there because a lot of athletes aren't able to utilize a lot of these things because they're banned substances in their sport. Yet for longevity and health, you can actually benefit from some of them. So I think it's not all bad. I think there are areas where people can actually enhance their life and their health and their longevity with it as well.
Okay, so what are some examples? So you mentioned peptides and hormone therapy. So are these the things that you were taking, or what?
Yes, actually, I have used plenty of peptides. I am a huge believer in peptides. I really don't care what kind of stigma comes along with that, because they actually are amino acids, chains of amino acids, and they act like you can use them to repair muscle and tissue and things like that. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of Ben Greenfield, but he's like
Yes,
the master in the health scene.
he's super smart. Yeah, he knows his stuff.
He utilizes peptides like crazy, and he's actually where I first heard about one called BPC 157, which is a peptide that helps you heal.
Okay.
And it's an incredible thing because you're able to, not only are you able to heal better and more efficiently, but if you have something come up, like, I mean, I have a shoulder that I've had so much surgery on, it keeps the inflammation down as well. There are other peptides out there that help that, it depends. There's peptides out there, but there's peptides out there that are growth hormone secretagogues, and they can encourage growth hormone release, which can also be great for longevity. I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there. So I've utilized BPC 157, ipamorelin, tesamorelin, TB500 is another healing peptide. All of these are very common peptides in the health space, especially with a lot of the biohackers. Many of these people are using these peptides to enhance their overall health and lifestyle. So this is not just like you're going to take this peptide and get swole or anything like that. It's more of from a longevity standpoint and a cellular turnover standpoint. And so, yeah, there can be a lot of benefits from getting into peptides. Now, as far as hormone replacement therapy, we all know as we age, our hormones change, and it's very important to keep a balance with our hormones. And so for me, I see a hormone doctor, and I'm on hormone replacement therapy. It's been a game changer for me, especially because where I overtrain a lot and I push it a little bit too hard sometimes, I actually depress my hormone function. So like when you're training so dang hard that your body starts to downregulate and it actually suppresses those hormones, you can actually go to the doctor and they can help you replace them. So I've been able to go on hormone replacement therapy. It's been a great thing for me. I'm not ashamed of it all. I think if you can balance your hormones by changing your lifestyle a little bit, it's a better way to go. But whereas I have an autoimmune disease that already kind of suppresses these, it's something that I have started utilizing, and I feel great doing it. So I'm going to continue to do it, and it's all prescribed by my doctor.
Okay, so that may answer the question that just came through. So we've got a question. I'm not sure if you can see it, Connie, but we've got a question from Jan Lazinski, and he's
Yeah.
asking, where can you buy these? So I think he's referring to the peptides.
Yeah, I'm happy to answer that. So the most reliable resource for getting peptides is there are some very resources, and you have to be very careful where you purchase them from. I'm not sure if you're in the US or no, you do not have to have a prescription for them. You can get them right on Conover Wellness, Koniver, I believe it is.
Can I just grab can I grab the spelling of that, please?
I think it's Koniver,
Conover.com.
Wellness. I believe it's under
Wellness.
Conover Wellness. They just recently changed it. Let me look. Yeah, it's Conover Wellness. Koniver. Wellness.com.
Have I got that right?
Koni. Nope.
Koni. Conoverwellness.com.
Yep.
Okay. So that's
it.
So I'm giving a free shout out to Conover Wellness. This is not a pay.
I don't make any money from this at all.
Neither do I. I'm not making any money as well from this, but we're giving these guys a shout out, you know?
I know. Geez, they're like, if they only saw what happened here. It's like, man, maybe I should screenshot this and take it to them. But no,
absolutely.
They sell peptide stacks that are amazing. They're pre-dosed. They are injections, so you do have to inject them. However, I can tell you it's just like a little insulin pen, and it's totally harmless and easy. You can do it right in your belly fat, and it's an amazing tool for longevity. Not just like, I mean, grandma and grandpa can benefit from this kind of stuff. It's not something that's ever going to be harmful to their health. And, there's a little bit of stuff you have to watch with other peptides as far as like cancer goes and stuff. Like if you get into some of these growth hormones, secretagogues, you can actually help grow cancer. So you have to be a little careful about that kind of stuff. But as far as like BPC 157 goes, TB 500, stuff like that, the BPC 157 I cannot recommend enough. It's an amazing peptide. So
I feel like I'm in a science lab here. I mean, I guess I'm more of an all-natural athlete, and this is why I stick to intermittent fasting, because I know there's science that demonstrates that intermittent fasting boosts your human growth hormone. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure. I'm guessing the artificial injections would boost that level much higher, but I guess I'm trying to stick to an all-natural human-based approach. But each to their own. And if you're wanting to go down that peptides, I'm grateful that you've shared that information with us. People can make up their own mind and of which way they want to go. And what about recovery?
Well, and that's that same thing, right? So for me, I think
that's
recovery is extremely. Yes. I mean, it's the same thing. Rest is your ultimate recovery, and getting good sleep at night and making sure it's quality sleep. But as far as like, I'm personally not utilizing any peptides right now. They are very expensive. I will tell you that. So be prepared to spend $500 a month if you want to utilize them. However, for recovery, there is nothing like them. They pretty much, don't wake up sore. You feel great. So there's that. But are
you ever jumping into the ice baths, or are you jumping into the cold showers at all?
No, I need to. I know that it would help my heart rate variability and stuff like that, but because of my thyroid disease and being so cold for my whole life, I literally have this phobia of cold. And so I have done ice baths in the past when I was bodybuilding and I got super lean, because the other thing about being super lean is you don't recover anymore. And so I was taking ice baths pretty frequently in the end stages of my preps for bodybuilding, and it was totally horrible. I hated it. So now I like hide from it, even though I probably should start implementing it back into my protocols.
Sauna or steam room?
I love sauna and steam room both. Red light, even better. I'm a huge fan of heat, and I jive. That's my area of love.
Now, what's this whole idea about red light? I mean, are we talking red light district in Amsterdam, or are we talking red light as in for the body? What are we talking about here?
As in far infrared heat. It actually permeates your skin and gets to you at more of a cellular level, and it helps with cellular autophagy better and stuff like that. I'm not huge into the science of it. I just know that it's a lot better as far as cellular turnover and all of that stuff goes.
And just speaking on autophagy, my understanding is that autophagy is cellular restoration in a sense.
Yes, it's turnover. It's
turnover.
It's a cellular turnover, yes. And you want that. You don't want to have a bunch of stagnant cells wandering around that are like half dead. You want to have the most vital, vibrant cells going on. And so there are a lot of things that cause cellular autophagy. Exercise is one of them. Ice baths, good stressors. There are good stressors and bad stressors. If you're running around going, when am I going to get this business meeting, or my life is too hectic, that is a bad stressor. But as far as cellular autophagy goes, intermittent fasting, you have to kind of go up there a little further in the days for intermittent fasting to make it really valuable. But sauna, steam rooms, the ice baths, exercise, resveratrol, that's another thing. Like, there are things that help inhibit cellular autophagy.
So I'm a keen wine drinker, and if I want to hit that resveratrol, I mean, should I be drinking 1 bottle of wine or 2 bottles of wine?
I knew that was coming. Well, that's kind of a catch-22 on that one, because although cellular turnover and all these things could be beneficial, there are a lot of ramifications of drinking alcohol is from a recovery standpoint. And so I know anecdotally with myself personally, when I drink alcohol, my heart rate variability is actually heavily impacted for 2 to 3 days. So I know there's an area in there where my body is struggling. So I would say drinking several bottles of wine may not be the answer when it comes to that one.
Damn. All right. Heart rate variability. You've piqued my interest here. What do you mean by heart rate variability?
So heart rate variability is like the little distance in between the heartbeats. So it's an area that you want to actually be higher. Right. I'm not saying higher the better, but you want it to be pretty far up there. And most people have to establish a baseline with that. There are a lot of trackers out there, like the Whoop Strap, the Oura Ring, all of these recovery trackers that tell you if you're ready to train or not. And basically the way that they are figuring that out is by going off of your heart rate variability. So they can tell if it's depressed and if you shouldn't be training. And if your heart rate variability is low, it's a pretty good indication that you're either really stressed out or you've overdone it in some way, shape, or form.
Okay. Do you ever feel overwhelmed with all these metrics and all these things you need to track, or what happens?
Absolutely. I totally do. Absolutely. I feel overwhelmed pretty consistently, and I have to take breaks from educating myself.
Meditation.
Yeah.
Meditation.
I seriously, I am constantly in pursuit of understanding things, and there's an unlimited amount of knowledge out there.
Yeah.
And there are so many processes in the body that just totally are incredible, and it's very hard to understand a lot of these processes, and so many of them hold hands, and it's like this giant, domino effect, and we don't even realize it. And so trying to have a comfortable understanding of this so that you can help other people is a very overwhelming task. And so I was just talking to a coach about it the other day. I was like, well, I just want to know this stuff. I said, but sometimes I feel like my head is just spinning. And he's like, yeah, you got to take breaks. So, yeah.
All right. Well, we've got another question from Jan, and I think I might make this the final question of the podcast. What is better, ice baths or steam rooms?
Oh boy, I can't honestly tell you. I can't answer that question. I would personally think that, there's both benefits. It's so hard because like a steam room or a sauna or something like that, you're also going to be sweating. You're going to be getting toxins out, things like that. but then ice baths are really good too. So I don't know. I can't answer that one. I'm sorry, Jan.
I'm gonna try and answer that question, and I think as a single male, I think you want to be utilizing the steam room not only for your health, but maybe for some interaction. Maybe there's a person in the steam room as well, half naked, and when you're kind of in that very intimate space, you start to develop a very close bond. So I think the steam room is definitely a winner in regards to that. It's a more social experience. And we've also got another question from Jan. Jan's popping the questions away today, so let's get it out. This is a question for you, Connie. What is the best electronic device to track your metrics?
Oh boy, the top two I would say is Whoop Strap. It's a monthly subscription. It's like $30 a month, I think, or something like that. Amazing feedback you can get from that. The other one is an Oura ring, and it's actually just a ring that you wear all the time. But the nice thing about the Oura ring is it does do your temperature and stuff like that too. So you can see a lot more metrics based on your body, and temperature is a huge indicator of a lot of things. So Oura ring or a Whoop Strap, definitely the top two as far as understanding your body metrics goes.
Okay, so I've just got a picture of the Whoop Strap now. So it's kind of like this. I think Joe Rogan's a massive fan of this thing. So it's kind of just like, is it like a watch? What is it? It's like a strap, is it?
It's literally a like nylon acrylic cloth strap basically that goes on your wrist, and it's got a little sensor on it, and then that's it.
And then you've got the Oura ring. I've seen this guy before.
Yep.
Okay. Can it double up as a wedding band, or it's not really?
Yeah, totally. The thing about it is, and the nice thing about, the Whoop Straps and the Oura rings don't have to be charged very frequently, which is great. I feel like the Oura ring also tracks your respiration rate, so that's another great metric to bring into things. It just really depends on the person. That's a really variable one based on your preference. Do you want a ring? Do you want a strap? It's me. I would probably just go with the Whoop Strap. I don't currently have one. I have messed around with them. Right now I have an Apple Watch because I have to see my heart rate in real time. I love seeing it, which I actually wear a chest strap too, but I use the screen to dictate my heart rate to myself. So that's the only reason I'm kind of hung up on what I am right now. And I don't feel like I need to be wearing 100 different devices to track what I'm doing. So I'm trying to behave myself there.
All good. And just before we finish the podcast, where can people find you online?
So www.Connie Nightingale, just like Nightingale like the bird.com. They can come on over to my podcast, which is called the Fit Farming Food Mom Podcast. I'm also on Instagram at Connie Bigani. And I do have a bunch of great Facebook groups out there. I've got a ketogenic athletes group, and I also have just a fitness tips and motivation group that's great. And I put lots of recipes up on all of that kind of stuff and whatnot. So, So the Fit Farming Food Mom Podcast, though, there's a lot of good stuff on there.
There you go, guys. If you want to follow Connie's journey and get some more information, there you go. And make sure to subscribe to my channel as well. So with that said, sending you peace and strength. Happy for today's podcast. Thanks, guys.